AI is something that is absolutely going to revolutionize the world as we know it. And it's really kicking into overdrive here into 2018. It's going to be a massive disruptor for jobs, the economy, and really for governments. It's going to be an arms race, similar to the nuclear arms race we had. Governments are going to be desperate for artificial intelligence.
Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a returning guest, Kenneth Ameduri. Kenneth is the chief editor and co-founder of financial publication lettercrossthestreet.com, and I am very happy to have Kenneth back on the X22 Report Spotlight. Kenneth, welcome back to the Spotlight.
Dave, thanks for having me on. Always appreciate coming on the X22 Report Spotlight.
Hey, thanks for being here. And let's start off with this technology that, people hear about it. They hear AI. Of course, when I hear AI, I think of Terminator. I think of The Matrix. I think of when the robots, they rose up and they attacked the human species. But let's start off for those people who don't understand what AI is. What is AI?
Well, AI is something that is absolutely going to revolutionize the world as we know it. And it's really kicking into overdrive here into 2018. It's going to be a massive disruptor for jobs, the economy, and really for governments. It's going to be an arms race, similar to the nuclear arms race we had. Governments are going to be desperate for artificial intelligence, and that's what it is. And it's technology, and it's simply technology advancing, technology getting smarter, technology inferring and making decisions. And this is absolutely huge going forward because, we have robots that were able to take over menial jobs, minimum wage jobs, low skilled level jobs. But now robots are moving into the higher levels and deciphering things that are very, very important. I mean, if you go all the way into the military situation, we're going to have robots deciding whether or not someone should live. You hit the kill switch on somebody. And that is absolutely huge. And it's a great responsibility for the people that are designing and developing artificial intelligence. And it's a whole new world because if you go back to the Terminator, or some of these movies, that was prior to the invention of the internet. So whatever these robots had were all self-contained. But now with the internet, you have these decentralized database of, all historical human knowledge where these computers can update on a real-time basis. And again, how do humans compete with that? And so this is going to be absolutely huge. The implications are staggering. And it's something that people need to be aware of because I feel like if people ignore this, they're going to be left behind. And things are changing much faster now than they have in the past. We're outpacing Moore's law. And just when we thought that, computer chips and the memory processing of these transistors couldn't get any smaller. Now you have quantum computers, which essentially goes beyond the physical limitations of the computational power of some of these computers. So I think this is limitless. And there's so many implications going forward here.
Do we see AI in society today?
Absolutely. We're seeing it, I think we mentioned this on the last interview, but look at just as a simple example, Airbnb has 5 million listings at once and, 300,000 leases a day. Artificial intelligence is coordinating this and this is happening. But, we also have situations now where artificial intelligence is hiring and firing people. There's this company right now, or there's probably multiple now, that are using AI in the process of interviewing people. And this AI is looking at your facial expressions, the tone of your voice, and you might not even be hired or talk to a real person because an artificial intelligent interviewer is going to allow you in or not. And this is absolutely huge. And it's all in the name of efficiency. And that's what's crazy here. And I know that we have AI in our kitchens and homes now with Alexas and these Google virtual assistants. And AI is getting even more and more intelligent in these. I mean, they're getting more and more human-like. They're empathetic. They're responding to what you're doing, how much is in your fridge. I mean, that's what it's coming to. What day of the week it is, what the weather is like, what are you likely to be doing, and predicting that so that, quote unquote, you will be more efficient, and a lot more can be done. And there's good and bads to this. But that's a huge thing is personal assistance. And, we have these in our homes, and, and these getting smarter and smarter as time goes on.
Now, you mentioned Alexa and Google Assistant, where it's in your home, but people are also worried about it that these AI devices, these listening devices, are actually spying on people and maybe taking notes and taking this information and sending it off someplace. How do we combat that, or is that a problem today?
The balance between luxury, convenience, and surrendering your information is a constant struggle. And I don't think there's going to be anything that people do as a whole. It's definitely something that people who know about this should be aware of and be careful of, because it's even with this, obviously humans have a very difficult time being able to monitor all Americans. The government has a very difficult time being able to monitor every single American. But with the help of artificial intelligence, they might even be able to streamline that, figure out what people are doing in a more efficient way, using the very thing that we're talking about today, and that is artificial intelligence. So, I think it's one of those things where, the government isn't necessarily, looking to pinpoint one specific person, but when they need to go after you, it's on this database. They can do whatever they want with that database, especially when they want to go out after you. So it's definitely something people need to be aware of, especially if you want your freedom and your privacy. It's not about you doing something wrong, but it's about protecting your privacy. And that's just one of those inalienable rights that we've had going back to the founding days of our country.
So let's talk about how AI is going to impact jobs. I mean, if you think about it today, we have robots today that are working on the assembly lines and things like that. We have kiosks like in McDonald's where you can, punch in your order and things like that. What else is AI going to do in the job market where it's going to, remove that person where you don't need that person anymore?
I mentioned virtual assistants. I think we're going to get to a point where AI really gets into even some of the security, streamlining some of the security of our lives. And the banking sector is full of people that are there to protect us from credit card fraud. But on the positive end, I think as AI moves forward, we might be able to be more secure using facial recognitions and things like that. But as far as a job displacer, job disruptor, I think analytics are going to really get disrupted. And, I'm in the finance world. I'm into trends. But I believe, it's going to get to a point now where, people and hedge funds, they pay hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars for analytics to look at stocks, to look at what's going on in the markets. But what happens when you can just tell an AI robot to crunch these numbers and to look at how your portfolio is doing versus the S&P 500? And what did the S&P 500 do at 231 versus your portfolio? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing AI get smart and move into areas where high-level, high-paying jobs once took place. So I think that's going to be huge. And, the problem with this, and it's a socialist dream, is that they're going to want universal basic income. And we're going to see this implemented. And what better way to swallow the AI disruption of your job than by telling the government telling you that Uncle Sam is going to give you a paycheck. And it's a socialist dream, and it's the next major climax for big government proponents. But, it's a surrender of our freedom and liberty to the government once again. And once someone starts receiving benefits from the government, they are beholden. And it's difficult to break free from that. And in an environment like there is no incentive to thrive, you can kiss the American ingenuity and resilience goodbye. And I mean, we can continue to talk about universal basic income if you'd like, but those are just kind of some of my thoughts on where things are going here.
Now, do you think they're heading down this path with the universal basic income, which you just mentioned with AI, because the economy right now is basically deteriorating very, very quickly. And yes, we see some good numbers, we see some good statistics, but again, those can be manipulated. And they've been talking about universal basic income for quite a while, where they're just going to give everyone a paycheck. If we go back a couple of years, they started with quantitative easing by creating currency, propping up the banks, and it looks like everything's coming to an end right now. And to get people out there spending, because that's 70% of GDP, all they have left is universal basic income. And if they combine that with AI technology, where these robots, machines can take your job, they might be able to pull this off. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. And the worse the economy gets, the more people opt for a government solution like this. And sure, we've seen some positive numbers, maybe some wage growth, but really in terms of purchasing power, I mean, the average person now, if you want that 1960s or 1970s lifestyle that a mechanic or a postal worker would have given their family, I mean, you got to make $150,000 now and be a doctor or a lawyer. That's where the real purchasing power has been lost. And, you see teachers in the streets now protesting because they're not getting paid enough. And you see Social Security. I read a statistic that it's down in terms of purchasing power 30% since only 2000. Probably more than that if you look at some of the underlying hidden inflationary things that are going on. But anytime we surrender our rights and our freedoms and put it in the hands of the government, it's not going to be efficient. And the thing is, governments are going to want AI and implement it. And this is going to happen whether we want it or not, because there's going to be an absolute need for it. I mean, you look at China with their situation there. There's a massive problem with their one-child policy. And I'll give you some statistics here. In 1987, the number of births was 25.3 million. 8 million more than last year. And that means by 2047, there will be 8 million fewer Chinese consumers age 30 than there are now. 25% of China's population will be over 60 in 2030, compared with about 16% in 2015. So a massive top-heavy demographics that we're going to see. And I mean, this is years down the line. And something that I don't feel anyone is talking about is the fact that not only will China need to immigrate or import quality immigrants, with some sort of merit to contribute to their economy, they're going to use artificial intelligence to fill these jobs. Now, it's going to be a nightmare trying to quantify exactly what machine is making what and how this machine is contributing to these profits. And the governments are going to do everything they can to gain some sort of grasp on this. But absolutely, they're going to try to tax AI, and they're going to serve it to people saying, hey, we're going to tax these machines and you're going to get a paycheck and life will be go on and everyone will be happy. But I think it's a deterioration. It's, further globalization, and that's further wins for the elites.
So what benefits is there for AI in regards to the economy? I mean, put it this way. You have machines doing the work, and then you have people doing what? Just sitting at home collecting a paycheck?
Well, there are going to be people that obviously control the AI and profit from the AI. So if you're somebody who's in front of the trend and controlling it and own these machines, it's going to be a benefit to you. For instance, driverless cars. This is another benefit that I believe will come in the form of AI to the economy. There might be a lot less accidents. Elon Musk believes that there's going to be a 10x reduction in accidents with driverless cars. So that'll be efficiency for our lifestyles. And, these major metropolitan cities that are at a standstill with their freeways and highways might move a little better with AI. Maybe less people will die in terms of battle. I know they're trying to implement these AI robotics machines into warfare. And depending on which side of the equation you're on, they're using these machines. They're using killer drones in battle. They have the capabilities to do that. So depending on how you look at that, that might be a good thing. I think there's going to be a lot of contributions to society. And one of the things that we were actually chatting about prior to this interview, Dave, is this idea that they're going to implant chips into people's heads. And I know that means a lot of things for different people. If you're in the Christian community, that might mean the mark of the beast. And a lot of people are worried about, the implications of putting something into your mind and, being even more connected to the matrix. But just talking about it from a technological perspective, the goal would be to have more memory, to update, to get more education, to download education, and what would be the implications of this, and theoretically, this could be a very efficient thing for the future of our economy, and it won't necessarily be so much of this AI versus humans, but they're talking about this combination of AIs integrated with society. And there's the PwC report that said that AI will contribute $15.7 trillion to the world economy by 2030, more than the current output of the combined efforts of China and India. So this is going to be very, very big deal going forward.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me with implanting something into your body is that they do have the ability to track. They do have the ability to maybe control you at some point. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that bothers me. Sure, there's other things, but when you hear about implants, when we talked about RFID chips to track you and things like that, implanting AI, making you hear voices and things like that, I think people might look at this and say, whoa, this is not for me. Right. And this might be a very big hurdle to get over for AI.
Yeah, and maybe there will be some sort of effort to address these problems with AI, and companies that come out with AI and say, hey, this is our special technology, and we're addressing these concerns. But you're right, it's going to be a problem, this balance of surrendering your privacy for convenience and just this luxury lifestyle.
Now, I know like Google is using AI to do many different things. I just read an article today about Google using AI to predict someone's death, which is quite scary. I mean, I don't know how you predict. I know there's actuaries in insurance, and they can, from your disease and stuff like that, they can tell how long you might have to live. But to actually predict your death, that's quite scary.
You know what? That's actually something that's very interesting. And that will be one of the things that they pitch this implanting of the chips with. Because if this is in your brain, they'll be constantly monitoring you. And that's the worry, but also the positive. And that is, if any problems persist, some sort of, something with your heart or something with your brain, they'll be able to monitor this on a very real-time basis. And, in reality, maybe they will be able to extend a lot more people's lives and save a lot more lives because of that monitoring. And as far as predicting the death, I mean, that's such a, I don't even know how to, how to do that. I mean, if they're taking people's weight and height and, their genetic history, heart history, and then they're making some sort of actuarial prediction on this. But I think the real implication of this is them being able to monitor your health on a real-time basis. And AI in the diagnostic world. And again, this is such high-level things here, things that is not just menial, repetitive labor that it's replacing. This is levels in assisting the doctors, assisting the medical field in areas that are going to be worth billions and billions of dollars. So that's where I definitely see things going on that front, which, again, for the sacrificing of your privacy, maybe you live a longer life.
So where do you see AI going in the next 10 years? I mean, what advancements do you see happening?
Well, I think we talked about some of this, but, continuing to see these robots becoming more like humans, acting like a human, responding like a human, thinking like a human, and ultimately surpassing humans. But, especially on the virtual assistants, anticipating your next move, what you need in your refrigerator, and ways to monetize that. I know companies, Google, Facebook, and all these advertising platforms, they're going to really want to know what the population is doing, and they're going to use AI to really personalize what they sell to people and anticipate everyone's move here. And that's where I see this going. I see it really advancing in the military efforts, really humanizing some of these robots so they can go into buildings and houses, go upstairs, go through doorways. And, we're already seeing that happen. I mean, I was watching this one robot earlier this morning that DARPA is developing, and, you just see it get hit or kicked, in this test experiment, and you watch it like stumble and regain its balance. And it was just such an eye-opening revelation of where robotics are going. And, we know that these killer robots are out there. And so it's going to be this balance of efficiency, robotics doing the job, and morality. And how do you get that balance of efficiency, doing the job, but training these machines to be moral? And I think that's the big issue here is, how are we going to train these machines and ensure that there's going to be morality when it comes to how they decide to move forward with a certain decision? These machine learning, inferring and implementing. This is absolutely huge.
Yeah, well, when you start to think about like the machines and stuff, and I know we have like Alexa now and the Google Assistant and all that, and that's just the beginning stages where it's just a small little device, on your table, and it's listening to you and it's responding to you. But eventually, I'm seeing, and this is what I'm getting from you, is that these little units will become moving assistants, where they'll look like humans, in robot form, but those will be your assistants, and they'll be connected to these companies where they'll be doing the tasks for you.
Absolutely. And, and who knows what it'll look like, the job landscape. Maybe you'll have an avatar working in the downtown office, and you're at home, and it's doing your job, representing you in a certain way. I think that's definitely something that we'll see. AI in the medical field, doing the job of a doctor who might be error prone, but if they can get a machine to have a steadier hand than a doctor going into very, very specific jobs like working on the eye or going into brain surgery sort of details. I mean, this is where AI is going. And again, that's the positive along with the negatives of all of this AI connected to the world, exposing your personal freedoms and your privacy to the world. And that's where I see the balance between all of this.
Yeah, I see the positive and the negatives. I mean, I'll take computers for, that the computer systems that we have today and what we have, where we know like the NSA, the CIA embedded chips within these computers from, WikiLeaks and Vault 7 and all that other stuff. I'm a little nervous with AI where, what happens if they embed a chip into these systems and they're able to override them later on. I mean, I know there's a huge amount of positive things that we can say about, robots helping you, AI helping the medical industry, but I'm also worrying about the government, like the deep state, where they've had control with your iPhone, with your computer systems and everything else. They can do this with robots, with AI and things like that, where they embed these chips and at any time can control them to maybe commit a crime. Maybe it will be blamed on you. This future is a very, I don't want to say scary, but a place where we're headed where, there's a lot of discussion is going to have to be made over all of this.
Yeah, and these governments, they're going to use artificial intelligence and especially something like quantum computing, which I mentioned earlier in this interview, for attacking, going into other governments and hacking the other governments and involving themselves with their security. And as far as the government using AI to attack people and turn on them, this is going to be a huge problem. And really, I think a lot of people are concerned about the fact that these machines are getting so smart and they're decentralized and eventually them going rogue. And we already have people talking about this. We know that Stephen Hawking has mentioned we need to be very careful about the implications of AI. Elon Musk has worried about it. Many top entrepreneurs who aren't just these conspiratorial type of people, very mainstream people, talking about the concerns of rogue AI, rogue artificial intelligence. And we know that's very possible, especially on this decentralized world of the internet. It's definitely something that needs to be aware. People need to be aware of. And that's, I think, the key. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm letting people know that things are changing. Things are changing very fast. You need to be aware of it. You need to prepare, not only for your privacy, for your security, but also your financial means. Things are changing, and it might behoove you to start looking in sectors that are thriving in AI. Because there might be completely new sectors and new industries that arise from AI that we're not even thinking about yet. And that's a very, very real fact here, and something that I think many Americans are very complacent about. They're not anticipating change, and we are changing faster now than at any other time in history. The world is globalizing, and things can turn on a dime. So I think it's very important to pay attention. And, having said that, I'd like to encourage people to visit crushthestreet.com/AI. We wrote a report there, a special report that people can download and read and just kind of get some thoughts and expand their minds on where AI is headed and how to prepare for this.
Ken, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, how can people see your work?
They can visit us at crushthestreet.com. Again, if you want that special report, visit me at crushthestreet.com/AI. Dave, thanks for inviting me to come on the X22 Report. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to sharing more information in the future as it develops.
Ken, thank you very much for being on the Spotlight. And I'm going to be putting all the links at the bottom of the video to make it easier for people. Ken, once again, I really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the Spotlight.
Thank you, sir.